Hands down, one of the most important elements we have in any Helix preset is the microphone we choose and where we place that microphone. It is going to have such a huge effect on the final result of our tone that it's really worth looking into and becoming very familiar with what the possibilities are. So first of all, you'll see that depending on the cab we have, we'll have a certain selection of microphones. And they're organized from dynamic mics first, through ribbon mics, and then into condenser mics. Just to really generalize things, I tend to think of dynamic mics as going to be having a little more cutting upper mids, a little more high end, a little less in the bass side of things. Ribbon mics are going to be much warmer in the upper mids, maybe a little bit almost tubbier, and potentially even kind of flubby in the bottom end, but there's something in there that I really like. Anybody who watches my channel knows I really gravitate towards ribbon mics. And then condensers are going to be characterized by maybe a nice smoother top, and shall I say a more pleasant dynamic mic, maybe just out of the gate. And those are just ways off the top of my head that I tend to describe these. So one thing I would suggest to start off with, just to familiarize ourselves with what the different mics are like, would be to set the position and distance just at center and 1 inch to start with, and then simply go through our different mics while playing. Just to familiarize yourself with the characteristics of each of those microphones. Once we've done that and we've found a microphone that we like, we can then play around with position and distance. Now, starting with something like the 57 Dynamic, I find that very grainy and abrasive, but that can be countered by simply moving the position off axis slightly. If you really do like that microphone, you can do that, and to varying degrees. Now, if we do move it off axis and find that maybe we've lost some of that cut and maybe the bottom end is becoming a little bit too predominant, we can pull the mic back to kind of control that low end a bit. So you can see how powerful the position and distance controls can be. Now, I love to oftentimes start off with something like a ribbon, maybe an L160 ribbon. We'll go back to the center here. Very nice balanced mic, but something like this, I may want to pull that distance back a few inches. Something I really like in those ribbon mics, and quite a few of them actually. If I go to something like the 4030, it's going to be very dark and woolly. So I may have to pull this way back. And it also may need to be combined with another mic, maybe a dynamic, and blended together with something like the 4038. But for ribbon mics, I would probably tend to position them closer towards the center to accentuate some of those upper mids and the higher end frequencies and pull that distance back. With the dynamic mics, I'm very likely going to do the opposite. I'm going to move them off axis a bit, maybe pull the distance back just a little bit, but not as much as with ribbon mics. And over here with condensers, I can easily kind of play around with that position, staying closer to the center, maybe just a little off axis, and mess around with that distance as well. It's really going to depend on which condenser you choose. But you can really see that depending on the mic and the positioning that we choose, We have a lot of possibilities to dial that tone in before we've touched anything else. We haven't even touched the tone stack here yet, but we can really fine tune things with just that microphone choice and position. Obviously, there's a lot of other ways to tweak tones after, but that's a really important element that's going to be very influential on the way that our finished tone sounds. I hope it was a helpful quick tip to dive in and explore your microphone models and positioning a little more. Hope you enjoy the music on the way out. Links are below to any of the presets you heard in today's video.